Hello, welcome to this conversation with Alison Bladh. Alison is a nutritional therapist, and I'm really excited to have this conversation because skin is something that, needless to say, we've all got some. So, looking after our skin, and especially around that time of menopause, it can prove challenging with things happening that haven't happened for a while. We can have acne and breakouts. Skin can be dry as a bone. And, if I know anything about our health, everything comes from within, is what I would say. So, Alison, welcome to the podcast. It's wonderful to have you. Do tell me anything about you that I haven't already said, and say hello to our audience.
Oh, thank you, Philippa. It's lovely to be on your podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I am, as you already said, a registered nutritional therapist, but I am actually a esthetician as well, so a beauty therapist.
Oh.
I initially, very long story short, I had very bad skin when I was a teenager. I actually suffered from acne. And that really led me down the path of wanting to know how to improve my skin, hormones, that acne is horrible. I mean, it's horrible at the best of times. And when you're a teenager, it really affects your confidence. And that led me into, looking at the skin and studying the skin and becoming an esthetician. And I very soon came to realize that, you can't just treat the skin from the outside. It comes from within, exactly as you were saying, Philippa. You really need to look at both aspects. So that's when I studied to be a nutritional therapist, and I specialize in women's menopausal health, using the power of nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle modification.
Yeah, well, you're in the right place. We're talking menopause, all the things that can, come upon us around this time of life. And not even just then, because we know what we do know about menopause is it's kind of creeping up on us for quite a while. And that's, for me, really the time when I experienced most of my symptoms in the 10 years prior to the actual menopause. So, for me, I've always struggled with dry skin, and menopause only made it drier. Was the thing that happened to me. And actually, having dry skin when I was a teenager was quite a good thing because it did mean that acne wasn't something I struggled with particularly. You might get the odd hormonal spot every now and again, but I was kind of lucky on that front. But drying out in the most inconvenient places, really, around menopause, isn't it? So, what kinds of things could we think about if we were managing dry skin, say, for instance?
Yeah, it's dryness. I always say, moisture is the menopausal woman's friend.
Oh, yeah.
We unfortunately, things do start to dry out, and one of them being the skin, because estrogen is so important. It's so important for virtually every bodily system, but it is really important for skin health. And what estrogen actually does, it enables the skin to retain moisture, so to retain water. So when our estrogen levels start to decline, that's when we start to see, dryness, sensitivity on the skin, and we need moisture and we need oil on the skin to really help keep our skin looking fresh and firm, and have that glow that we all want. So things you can do, it's very important that you have a good skincare routine. So if you think about the products that you're using on your skin, really using products that have a good moisture content in them.
Right.
And applying, it's not really enough just to apply these products once a day. You really need to have a routine where you apply a day cream and a cream at night. And there is actually a difference between a day and night cream. A day cream has protection in to protect us from the sun's rays and the environment, whereas a night cream is rich products in there to really help feed the skin at night. And then if we look at nutrition, I mean, that I could talk about nutrition for hours, but you need to drink water.
Oh, yes.
And that might sound very basic, and everybody knows that they need to drink water, but how much water do we actually drink? It's very easy to forget, but that is crucial for skin health. And making sure that you're eating a lot of fatty, your lovely healthy fats, that helps to keep the skin hydrated. So that's really on the moisture. There's many other nutrients that are needed for skin health, but dryness and sensitivity really is an issue when we come into perimenopause. So hydration, moisture, you can't get enough really when you're in perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. I do kind of get that feeling. So, and of course, hydrating drinks don't really include coffee so much, do they, Alison? And alcohol. These are dehydrating things, aren't they?
Yes, you really, when you think of hydrating things, you're predominantly looking at water.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine with teas, your herbal teas, green teas, all those things. But really, there's nothing wrong with coffee. But products that contain high amount of caffeine can be dehydrating for the skin. So if you're a coffee drinker, really try maybe to drink that in moderation, because that can have a dehydrating effect. And alcohol, again, alcohol is not the friend of a menopausal woman. And not only can it trigger off many symptoms, it doesn't really do our skin any it really can age the skin as well and make us dehydrated.
Yeah, and I mean that, the young looking glow that we kind of would love to hang on to. There are things, sun damage, I suppose, is one of the major things that creates aging, the effects of aging, or accelerates the effects of aging on the skin, isn't it? So protection from sun and such like.
Yes, the sun, crucial point, Philippa. It's what I say is that when you get into perimenopause and menopause, the way that you've treated your skin when you were younger starts to show up. So I know when I was in my teenagers and in my youth, I lived in the US and in Miami, where it's very hot, and sun protection factor no one really used it then.
Yeah.
It was kind of in a way a bit, you use sun SPF, that's a bit strange. You just used to use like oil, and I mean, when I think about it now, it's just shocking. But the damage that you do to your skin when you're younger through sun exposure will start to show up when you get older, and it'll show up as what we call hyperpigmentation, which is the darker pigmentation marks, or they're sometimes known as age pigmentation, age spot. Yeah, we see them on the back of the hands as well. That's quite a common place that we see when we get older. So the sun is really using a day cream with a sun protection factor in, and studies have shown that you really need to use one that is at least 30 plus, so has a sun protection factor of 30 in there. And the majority of products these days, there's so many fantastic products on the market. A majority of good day creams have a sun protection in them, so you don't need to put another sun cream over your face. You can use a day cream. Really crucial for skin health, and also to stop skin aging, for the formation of fine lines and wrinkles on the skin. Use a sun protection factor, and the earlier you start using it, the better.
Yeah, the big floppy hat, the sun, the big sunglasses, we'll all be looking like celebrities, won't we? But I mean, these are the measures that ultimately reap dividends when you, as with the passage of time, and so dry skin. I think the idea that you have a day cream and a night cream and the difference. I sometimes sort of, I have been a little bit, what's the word? Skeptical, I suppose, is the word, that there is a difference. But you're clearly saying that, these products are designed to be different, and that there's a place for each of them. And that SPF, the one that I use, the day cream, really only has SPF 15 in it, and that doesn't really measure up, does it, in terms of the protection? So I do use something on top of that in addition to that. And having dry skin, I could layer it on, all day and it would soak in. So so that's fine, isn't it? We can do that if needs be. But if you can find a day cream that does have this SPF of 30 or more, then I suppose you're saving money in the long run, aren't you? Because you're just buying the one thing.
Yeah, exactly. And another good tip for moisture in the skin is using a hydrating mask. There's a lot of masks on the market that are more of a gel consistency, and you can really apply them to the skin. And what you'll find is when your skin, really needs that moisture, it basically just absorbs in. So it's like giving your skin a real, soak, a nice hydration bath, you can think. So hydrating masks are really beneficial for the skin as well, just to get that real boost of moisture a couple of times a week. And peeling the skin, that's something I tend to forget about, is we need to remove the surface dead skin cells, because it also helps in skin renewal. So it keeps skin looking fresher. But all the products that you apply on the skin when you've what we call exfoliated the skin will have a better effect, because they can actually absorb into the skin much better. And you really see a difference in your skin if you start using an exfoliation. A gentle one, you don't want one that's really harsh, but gentle exfoliation that helps to remove the dead skin cells. Again, a couple of times a week, that would be really, really beneficial.
Oh yeah, brilliant. So there's lots of lovely tips there if we've got dry skin. So what about if we're breaking out in the old acne coming to visit us again? And I read lots of people having difficulty with the skin breaking out. So do you have any tips for that, Alison?
Yes, it can be very stressful. I mean, it's enough, isn't it, going into perimenopause without developing what we call adult acne. And when we think about acne at this time of our lives, it can be to do with the fact that we have testosterone dominance, because estrogen and progesterone are becoming all very unbalanced in perimenopause. It can actually mean that testosterone kind of becomes more dominant, and this can lead on to skin issues, not only acne but facial hair growth as well.
Okay.
So if we're talking about acne, what you really need to do is, ask for help. Go to an esthetician or a doctor and really ask for help, because there are so many things you can do with adult acne. But first of all, you want to look at the diet and really make sure that you're eating, or should I say not eating, or a high sugar diet. With lots of refined processed foods and unhealthy fats, because that can really trigger inflammation in the body. And acne is inflammation, basically. So if you're having a diet that contains a lot of these really refined products, that could be one of the reasons why you're having problems with your skin. And then you've got the hormones in there as well. So having a skincare routine with products that specifically for your skin type, making sure you keep the skin nice and clean and hydrated as well. I think a lot of people make the mistake with acne of really using very harsh products. And this can have, a reverse effect, and the skin can become very sensitive. So, and also, I mean, things like, you've got to look at the whole picture. The stress comes into play. Sleep comes into play, and hydration that we've spoke about. But don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's what I would say to people that are really having problems with their skin, because it's an imbalance. You need to get things back in balance to really help the skin.
Yeah, I mean, just for clarity, we're talking, you talk about healthy fats and unhealthy fats, I suppose. What can you give us some examples, please, for people to really understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, sure. So when I say unhealthy fats, I mean, when we talk about very refined processed foods, they not only contain high amounts of very refined sugars, but they also contain what we call the more processed fats, which means that they've been highly refined and highly processed and gone through lots of different processing events that damages them, basically that damages the chemical structure of these fats. So when we eat them, our body doesn't really know what they are and doesn't really like what they are, and this can irritate our bodies and cause inflammation, amongst other things. So what we want to do is we want to eat fats, that healthy fats, like whole fats that haven't refined, like, for example, olive oil. If you buy olive oil, if possible, try to buy organic, cold pressed virgin olive oil. That's the best that you can really get. Things like nuts and seeds, avocados, butter, full, proper, good old fashioned butter. They're what we call like healthy fats. And then fats from oily fish, your omega-3 fatty acids are crucial for skin health and overall health. So really, fats that haven't been refined, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of chatter around, weight management, obviously, around this time for women. And so you start to be somewhat afraid, perhaps, of fat. Historically, the low-fat diet was thought to be the way forward. But for me, and this is something that I've practiced for a long time already, is eating real food and thinking that the real food is something that, like you said, your body recognizes. It knows what to do with this stuff. And as long as we follow, everything in moderation and portion control and not going mad with the butter, because we can scrape it on as sparingly, or we can lather it on thickly, can't we? And, so you have to consider that when you're saying about butter being something, and butter is something that I've always had in the fridge, and never that. I just remember reading once that if you left out in the garden a pot of margarine, I mean, maybe this is some kind of urban myth, I don't know, but that the animals wouldn't bother with it. So, if the animals are not going to eat it, then it's probably not that good. If this is an urban myth, please feel free to inform me. But you know what I mean? That if you kind of know where it came from, if you can trace it back, if you can understand the ingredients on the old label, then I think you sort of, we're headed in the direction. And then, of course, it is around knowing the quantities of these things that are comprise a balanced diet, if you like, so that you're not having, because you can have too much of a good thing, can't you, Alison?
Absolutely. And it's exactly as you said, Philippa, it's everything in moderation, it's everything in balance. And exactly as you said, I mean, I grew up in that era where fat was terrible. You shouldn't eat fat, it's terrible. But now, through research, we've really started to understand that we need that. Fat is a crucial nutrient for the body for many different reasons. And when we're talking about skin health, we need it for our skin. It keeps everything hydrated. And when we're talking about weight management, fat actually keeps you very satisfied. If you've got a diet where you're eating what you should, when you have a plate of food, you should have your healthy fats, you should have protein, you should have carbohydrates, preferably from whole grains and vegetables. That's what you should be eating. And the fat part, roughly depending on what you're eating, but you don't need to overdo it with fat, but like a tablespoon of fat with every meal is fine. And it won't, if you're eating like that, those sort of fats won't make you fat. It's a shame that fat is called fat, because being overweight, don't we?
Yeah, you're right, actually. It's got bad press, hasn't it? Yeah, so when we think about the neurological, the brain is the neurons within the brain are covered in that structure that's called myelin, and myelin is made out of fat. So we need this material to insulate those nerves and allow them to conduct the messages. And honestly, we need every bit of that we can get, don't we, at menopause? So let's not be afraid of healthy fats, and stay away from the stuff that you don't understand. If it sounds like something that you would read in a chemical equation, then avoid it. Would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
Am I right, Alison?
Absolutely, 100% agree with you. A food should look like a food. You should be able to recognize what it is. A piece of broccoli, you know what that is. A chicken, we know what that is. So anything that has a big list of ingredients that you can't pronounce, then that probably isn't going to be very good for you.
No,
And
it's actually weekend. Save it for a special occasion. We have to live our lives, and we don't want that to feel like we're being deprived. But save those kinds of foods for occasions, occasional foods. I suppose that's a list, isn't it? That I used to think of.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's one other thing, Philippa, that I think is very interesting. Talking about processed, refined foods that are high in sugar, there is something when we're talking about the skin called, it sounds horrible, it's called sugar sag.
Oh.
And this is actually a term that is used if we've got a diet containing a high amount of sugar, something called sugar sag happens. And what this basically is, it's a process called glycation.
Oh.
And glycation is when the glucose, so the high amount of sugar that you have in your system, it this is very simplified, but it binds with protein.
Oh.
And it causes end products that have an effect on the collagen and elastin fibers in your skin, amongst other things.
Right.
Now, about the skin. And this can really help promote, that sagging look. So it has, basically, the bottom line is that sugar has an aging effect on the skin. And it make the skin look a bit puffy, a bit saggy. So high sugar is not good for the skin. It really has been shown in studies, if you look up the word glycation and skin, how detrimental that is to the collagen and elastin fibers in our skin. So sugar is not good.
I mean, if ever we needed persuading, that really would persuade me, I have to say. And you know what, Alison, I was thinking while you were saying that the idea that sugar contributes to inflammation in the body is on a sort of a systemic level, is something that I'm familiar with. And as a physiotherapist, I've been studying about shoulders lately, just as you do. And it was shown that lots of us might actually be pre-diabetic and not know it. And under those circumstances, we can pretty much assume that we're having too much of the refined sugars to drive us into that state. And that actually being pre-diabetic is something that can predispose you to having shoulder pain. And so what you said about the collagen, I think that's what that speaks to, actually, because collagen is in all our tissues, muscle tissue, skin, bone, ligaments, capsule, joint capsule, all these different structures have collagen, are comprised of collagen. There's lots of different kinds of collagen with different numbers, but collagen. And so that's fascinating, because it's highly likely that same process is going on in those other structures, soft tissue structures. So that's fascinating to me, Alison. Thank you for enlightening me on that point.
No, it's really interesting, isn't it? And we also have to, always back to good old estrogen. That estrogen has an anti-inflammatory effect. So, when our levels start to decline, you suddenly start getting these aches and pains and like inflammation in the joints, and you really see it all over the body, really, because of each effect on so many bodily systems. So
and I suppose, we can think about skin on the outside, and I know that the skin on the inside of us, the mucosal layer, it's not quite the same, but it's, subject to challenges is all I'm going to say, and that we can nourish our skin from within, whether it's on the outside of us or on the inside of us. So, this is important stuff, isn't it?
It's fascinating. I can get so excited about, that there's another thing that is fascinating as well, is the probiotics.
Oh,
There's
tell me
also
about this.
research coming out. We all know that it's important for gut health, but they're coming out with research now saying how important, what we call our gut, we have gut bacteria, the healthy bacteria, but the microbiome, as it is called, is we have on the skin.
Oh, yeah.
Really, looking in and researching into that now, and how important the microbiome is on our skin. And I noticed how a lot of companies are starting to produce products with probiotics in, so that the good bacteria, like moisturizers and cleansers and everything. But I mean, talking about the microbiome in the gut, that is also really crucial for skin health, because it comes from within, and it helps with inflammation. It's really crucial that you eat your probiotic foods for skin health, like your sauerkraut and all the lovely fermented things.
Yeah, fermented foods. It's there's a quite a long list of those, isn't there? Kimchi, kombucha, they're things you can you drink? No, you can drink kombucha. I think kimchi, I think you eat it, don't you? Or do you rub it on? I don't know.
Well, there's many. Is that kimchi is it's like a bit like sauerkraut, but it's made from like carrots and cauliflower. And anything really fermented is great for the gut microbiome and skin health and overall.
Yeah,
we really need that healthy gut bacteria.
We do, and it's interesting to me that those cosmetic companies have very quickly latched onto that. But my preference would be that we approach this from within naturally, with the foods that we eat and the movements that we make as well. Isn't it, Alison? That movement stimulates this. The gut motility, it changes the microbiome just by exercising. And so, for me, this match made in heaven, which is food, movement, and the mind. And you talked a little bit about the mind, stress management, I suppose. We talked about that, didn't we? But this wonderful marriage of wellness interventions that, doesn't have to be hard. It can be fairly simple. It doesn't have to be time consuming. Do you know what, Alison? I had 10 minutes before we were chatting in this podcast, and I thought to myself, by the time we've done, it'll be 6 o'clock. And that's my tea time, Alison. 6 o'clock. And I've just heard my husband coming from work, and I thought, shall I wait till I've finished and then prepare the dinner, and then, of course, have to wait 25 minutes while it cooks in the oven? Or I'll do it quickly, and I threw it all in one pot, and it's in the oven now on the timer. Lots of brightly coloured fruits and vegetables. Not fruit. There's no fruit in there. Vegetables, chicken, and I can't remember what else I put on there. Some olive oil, definitely. Some of that drizzled on. Some apple cider vinegar, because I really love that stuff. Some lemon juice. These are the juices that I put on. And I sprinkled some. I was all out of smoked paprika, which is, I absolutely love that stuff. I would have put some of that on, but I didn't have any. So I just had to put some ginger on there. But, there's nothing in there that I couldn't have grown in the garden, apart from, I could have grown the chicken actually too, if I have wished it. And it took me no time at all
Yeah.
to chuck that together and throw it in the oven. And it's a recipe that I found in the Mary Berry book, as it happens. And it's kind of got, what's the word? Oh gosh, I can't think of the word. When you change something, can you think? Transformed. I transformed this.
Yeah, you transform the recipe.
It's different every time, but who cares? It's what you've got in the cupboard, isn't it, that goes into it.
That sounds absolutely delicious. And it's like you say, it doesn't, you know, when I work with clients, I'm a real believer in realistic changes, because it has to be something we can do every day. And what you were just described sounds delicious. And it didn't take any time, really, did it? Just to put that all in a tray and put it in the oven. And it's all about, it was wonderful what you said about different colors and, you know, different vegetables, because we want to eat a rainbow of colors for our skin, and we do, to get in all the antioxidants and nutrients that we need. So eating different colored fruits and vegetables is a wonderful thing to do. It's really important, so we get in all the nutrients that we need. And it doesn't have to be difficult, like exercise, making sure you're getting a lot of sleep, drinking water, and a mindset. You know, I know when you think about mindset, you don't necessarily think about the skin, but if you think of people that are happy and have a positive mindset, they kind of glow, don't they? Their skin always looks better if you're happy. If you're miserable and grumpy, then it shows on your skin.
Well, it definitely shows on your face, doesn't it? You know, and so why not in the skin? You know, I think we've all got our crosses to bear, haven't we? You know, life is not a bowl of box of chocolates, to quote the film Forrest Gump. You know, we all have our ups and downs, and we've got to keep it real and be real, and realize that, you know, that real life isn't always this rainbow. You know, there's not always the rainbow over it, is there? But by the same token, how we think about the things that we experience will change how that experience impacts us. So, you know, getting up in the morning, the alarm goes off, you hit the button, are you thinking, oh gosh, you know, or another word, or are you thinking, woohoo, you know, high five to you, let's hit this day? And you know, because just even having that moment of negativity right at the start of the day, that can really set the tone for the day, can't it? And so, you know, give yourself a high five, look in the mirror. You might not be enthralled with what you're seeing, but hey ho, this is just how it goes. And onward and upward, it can only get better once you slap the moisturizer on. That's what I always think. I look so much better once I've slapped the moisturizer on. And yeah, you know, increasingly I am beginning to understand and appreciate that we put in this, you know, be your own spin doctor, put a positive spin on it. It can do you no harm whatsoever. Well, you know, I guess somebody's going to message me all about toxic positivity at this point, but you know, with the best will in the world, sometimes we can be a bit half full, glasses half full, can't we? I can, I know I can. And so that it does me little harm to think positive, put a positive spin on it. And you know, if you really are suffering from clinical depression, then like we said before, seek help, get help. That, you know, the help is available, and don't suffer in silence. If you are really struggling with your mood, and you know, again, menopause messes with your mind, the low mood, unexplained anxiety. I know this because I've had it, not because I'm talking the theory. You know, I do absolutely know how this feels, and I've been my own doctor, if you like, through all of this, my own health professional, seeking help from people, other professionals like you, Alison, people who know their onions, excuse the pun. And there's so much we can do to help ourselves do that. And if you can't work your way out of it with our help, with the help of other experts. Then seek the help of your doctor, and really, grasp the nettle, because we only get one go at this, don't we, Alison? I didn't mean to get quite so dramatic at this point.
No, I totally agree with everything that you're saying, Philippa.
Oh, well.
It's about, getting support if you need it, absolutely, and not being afraid to ask for help, because, we all need help, and it's very individual, isn't it, how we experience perimenopause and menopause, and there's so much help out there. You really, what I say, menopause is, it's a totally natural process, but suffering isn't. No woman should have to suffer. So, just reach out and find the help that you need, because it's the new beginning. It's the next phase in your life, isn't it? And it could be 30 plus years. So that's a long time.
Yeah, it is. And let's make the most of it and thrive, not survive. That's what we want for women, isn't it? Well, Alison, thank you so much for your time today. I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat, and I think we might be chatting again before very long. Lots of topics for us to cover. So thanks again today for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's wonderful to talk to you, Phil. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. And we'll please do have a listen to the podcast. It's on all the platforms, Apple Podcasts, all the other ones. Can't think offhand right now. Have a listen to what we've got to share with you. And follow us in the Facebook, the Moving Through Menopause Facebook group. Do join us there for more menopause mayhem. Anyway, for now, thank you, Alison. Have a fabulous rest of your day. Take care for now. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.